as they scatter about. Don't want to forget Rudolph. This was the message that Rob was going to bring forth this morning, so I guess I'll try to bring it forth this morning. Turn it that way. That's not what I had in mind. Okay, are you satisfied with Christmas? This is supposed to be a happy time of year. So we sing all kinds of songs. It's a wonderful time of the year, jingle bells, holly jolly Christmas, walking in a winter wonderland. But is that what you're really experiencing this Christmas so far? Probably not. We have a lot of folks who are having personal problems and family problems, and it seems like one thing comes up and then another thing comes up, and it's taking our focus away from Christmas and Christ. So we're probably not going to have what we would call a holly jolly Christmas this year, but hopefully we'll get the best out of it that we can. Sometimes we get disappointed because we are try to get an emotional high during this time of year because we have family and friends, and sometimes we expect more than we want, and we get disappointed and disillusioned because it's usual to happen sometimes this time of year. We get all hyped up with our expectations that what Christmas is supposed to be like, and then it doesn't measure up to what we expect, and we're disappointed. So what can we do to help get around all this disillusion and improve our Christmas joy experience? And the answer is found in the Bible. Excuse me. And it's found in Matthew chapter 2, and I'm going to read that this morning. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them, "Where is the Christ was to be born?" "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and make a careful search for the child. As soon as you have found him, report to me so that I may too come and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until they stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented them with gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. The wise men traveled a far distance to worship the new king. And they experienced a lot of hardships probably during that time, but they wanted to worship this new king that was going to be in Israel. And there's 3 points we want to make here this morning. What do you seek at Christmas time? Have you ever asked yourself that question? What is it you want to get out of Christmas? What would make you happy during this Christmas time? I know for some people it would be snow. Others, family get-togethers where they can enjoy one another's company. Others would be giving the right gift or getting the right gift. And sometimes that can be very disappointing too. The problem is not Christmas, it's what we expect from Christmas that disappoints us sometimes. So as they came to worship the king, the new king that's was born, they didn't realize that Herod was the kind of person he was that wanted to destroy him. But that's why they were warned as they left and went back a different way. Number 2, where do you look for Christmas? We see that what the wise men wanted to do was find the place where they thought a king would be born, so they went to the capital city of Jerusalem. They were following their own thoughts. They weren't following God's thoughts. But God was leading them after they left Herod to Bethlehem, where the king was actually, King Jesus was being born. So they were looking in the wrong place. Do we sometimes look in the wrong place for the right things? Sometimes we're tempted to look for joy of Christmas in the wrong places. And sometimes that leads us to our unexpected experiences, disillusionment, a letdown. So maybe you can't afford the gift that you'd like to give, so you have to give something different, and that makes you feel sad. Or you didn't get the gift that you really, really wanted, and that lets you down. So we are just kind of left in an awe, maybe you could say, and a feeling of disillusionment. Finally, the Magi looked toward God, and God led him to Bethlehem and the house where Jesus was at. So they should have looked in the Bible like we should today before we make a decision or what we come up with at the conclusion of something to get the answer God wants to reveal to us. Number 3, what do you give? You see, find out that the Magi came bearing gifts. They weren't just any gifts. They were gifts that were fitting and appropriate. The gift of gold was for a king. By giving that, they realized that King Jesus was the king and the ruler. They give incense, frankincense, which is given to the temple for the priest to give as a sacrifice and an aroma that goes up to heaven. And lastly, they gave myrrh, which is a gift for the dead, for the realizing that he was going to go through a death in his life. So what we're saying here is, it's not what you give, it's not what you get, it's how you feel toward Jesus Christ. Because when you take Christ out of Christmas, all you got is a mess. So as we conclude here this morning, we should not consider our time wasted when we're trying to help others. Whether it's family or friends, we should show compassion, we should show forgiveness, and look in the right places. And that's in the church, in our church family, and our church friends. And the opportunity to come to Jesus Christ is always open. There's no downtime. You can always get a hold of Bob or one of the elders to make a decision if you haven't made a decision for the Lord.